Hello, friends and viewers. Welcome to the reviewer. Before starting the video, please do support and subscribe my channel and share. In this video, I'm going to tell any guess the best Hollywood movies to watch. Many of you know the famous Hollywood movies like Marvel series, DC series, Mission Impossible series, and Jurassic series, etc. Today, in this video, I'm going to tell the best Hollywood movies to watch. Do not think that I'm going to tell the same movies that you have watched already. Few people may know other movies also. The movies that I say are quite interesting. Do not tell the movie that it's worse and it's boring to watch from starting. If you watch the full movie, you will understand the concept and the story. Now, I'm going to tell the 30 best Hollywood movies to watch. Wow! 30 Hollywood movies to watch? Yes, of course. You will think that what Hollywood movies that I will suggest? Any idea? Let us see now. The first Hollywood movie is The Shawshank Redemption. This movie has been released in the year 1994, starring Tim Robbins and Morgan Freeman. The duration of this movie is 2 hours 22 minutes. The synopsis describes that the two people who are imprisoned years and years and create a bond themselves, finding a solace and eventually redeemed through acts of common dignity. This is a quite interesting movie. The second Hollywood movie is The Godfather Part 1. This movie has been released in the year 1972. The duration of this movie is 2 hours 55 minutes. Oh no. Marlon Brando, Al Pacino, James Caan are the stars of this movie. The synopsis tells that an age-old man of an organized crime dynasty transfers the control of his empire to his reluctant son. The third Hollywood movie, The Silence of the Lambs. This movie has been released in the year 1991. The duration of this movie is 1 hour 58 minutes. Jodie Foster and Anthony Hopkins are the stars of this movie. The synopsis describes that a FBI agent must receive the help of an incarcerated and manipulated cannibal killer, and to help catch another senior killer, a madman who finds his victims. Ooh, that's very interesting. The fourth Hollywood movie, The Shining. This movie has been released in the year 1980. The duration of this movie is 2 hours 26 minutes. Jack Nicholson, Shelley Duvall, Danny Lloyd are the stars of this movie. The synopsis tells that the family moves to an isolated hotel for the winter vacation, where the sinister prison's father into violence, while his son, who is psychic, sees horrific forebodings. The fifth Hollywood movie, V for Vendetta. This movie has been released in the year 2005. The duration of this movie is 2 hours 12 minutes. Hugo Weaving, Natalie Portman, Rupert Graves are the star of this movie. The synopsis tells that the story describes about the future British tyranny, a shadow freedom fighter only known by the name of V plots to overthrow with the help of women. That's another crime story. The sixth Hollywood movie, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. This movie has been released in the year 1989. The duration of this movie is 2 hours 7 minutes. Harrison Ford, Sean Connery, Alison Doody are the stars of this movie. The story describes in the year 1938 after the Professor Henry Jones Sr. goes missing while pursuing the Holy Grail. Professor Henry alias Indiana Jones Jr. finds himself against the Nazi to stop them from obtaining the powers. The seventh Hollywood movie, The Exorcist. This movie has been released in the year 1973. The duration of this movie is 2 hours 2 minutes. Ellen Burstyn, Max von Sydow, Linda Blair are the stars of this movie. The synopsis tells that a 12-year-old girl is possessed by a mysterious entity. Her mother seeks the help with true priests to save her. Now we are going to the eighth Hollywood movie, The Nightmare Before Christmas. I can say this movie is an animated movie. Yes, of course. This movie has been released in the year 1993. The duration of this movie is 1 hour 16 minutes. Danny Elfman, Chris Sarandon, Catherine O'Hara are the stars of this movie. The synopsis tells that Jack, the king of the Halloween town, discovers the Christmas town. His attempt is to bring Christmas to his home causes more confusion. The ninth Hollywood movie is The Man Who Would Be King. This movie has been released in the year 1975. The duration of this movie is 2 hours 9 minutes. Sean Connery, Michael Caine are the stars of this movie. The synopsis tells that two British soldiers decide to set themselves as a king of Kafiristan, a land where no white man has landed on that place since the Alexander the Great. The 10th Hollywood movie is The Untouchables. This movie has been released in the year 1987. The duration of this movie is 1 hour 59 minutes. Sean Connery, Kevin Costner, Robert De Niro are the stars of this movie. The synopsis tells that during the era of the Prohibition, federal agent Elliot Ness sets out to stop a ruthless Chicago gangster Al Capone. Because of the rampant corruption, assembles to form a team to help him. Now we are going to 11th Hollywood movie, The Halloween. This movie has been released in the year 1978. The duration of this movie is 1 hour 31 minutes. Starring Donald Pleasence, Jamie Lee Curtis, Tony Moran. The synopsis tells that after 15 years of murdering his sister on Halloween night in the year 1963, Michael Myers escaped from the mental hospital and returns to small town Haddonfield, Illinois to kill again. The 12th Hollywood movie, The Name of the Rose. The title seems interesting. This movie has been released in the year 1986. The duration of this movie is 2 hours 10 minutes. Sean Connery, Christian Slater, Helmut Qualtinger are the stars of this movie. The synopsis describes that A non-comfortist friar investigates a series of mysterious deaths in an isolated abbey. Now you know this movie. Any guess? No idea? I will tell you. The 13th Hollywood movie is Goldfinger. This movie has been released in the year 1964. The duration of this movie is 1 hour 50 minutes. Sean Connery, Gert Frobe, Honor Blackman are the stars of this movie. The synopsis describes that while investigating the gold magnet smuggling, Bond undercovers a plot to contaminate the Fort Knox Gold Reserve. Now we are going to 14th Hollywood movie, The Hunt for Red October. This movie has been released in the year 1990. The duration of this movie is 2 hours 15 minutes. Sean Connery, Alec Baldwin, Scott Glenn are the stars of this movie. The synopsis tells that in the year November 1984, the Soviet Union's best submarine captain in the newest sub violates orders, and the head for the US is he trying to start war? The 15th Hollywood movie is A Nightmare on Elm Street. This movie has been released in the year 1984. The duration of this movie is 1 hour 31 minutes. Heather Langenkamp, Johnny Depp, Robert Englund are the stars of this movie. The synopsis tells that the monstrous spirit of slain child murder seeks the revenge by invading the dreams of teenagers whose parents were responsible for untimely death. The 16th Hollywood movie, Beetlejuice. This movie has been released in the year 1988. The duration of this movie is 1 hour 32 minutes. Alec Baldwin, Geena Davis, Michael Keaton are the stars of this movie. The synopsis tells that the spirits of a deceased couple are harassed by an unbearable family that has moved into their home and hire a malicious spirit to drive them out. The 17th Hollywood movie, Sleepy Hollow. This movie has been released in the year 1999. The duration of this movie is 1 hour 45 minutes. Johnny Depp, Christina Ricci, Miranda Richardson are the stars of this movie. Ichabod Crane is sent to Sleepy Hollow to investigate the decapitations of 3 people, with the culprit being the legendary apparition, the Headless Horse. The 18th Hollywood movie is From Russia with Love. This movie has been released in the year 1963. The duration of this movie is 1 hour 53 minutes. Sean Connery, Robert Shaw, Lord Lenya are the stars of this movie. The synopsis tells that Bond falls into an assassination plot involving a naive Russian beauty in order to receive the Soviet encryption device that was stolen by Spectre. The 19th Hollywood movie, Scream. This movie has been released in the year 1996. The duration of this movie is 1 hour 51 minutes. Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, David Arquette are the stars of this movie. The synopsis tells that A year after the murder of her mother, a teenage is terrorized by a new killer targets the girl and her friends by using horror films as a part of a deadly game. The 20th Hollywood movie is Poltergeist. This movie has been released in the year 1982. The duration of this movie is 1 hour 54 minutes. Jobeth Williams, Heather O'Rourke, Craig T. Nelson are the starrer of this movie. The synopsis tells that a family's home is haunted by the host of the demonic house. The 21st Hollywood movie is Dr. No. This movie has been released in the year 1962. The duration of this movie is 1 hour 50 minutes. Sean Connery, Ursula Andress, Bernard Lee are the starrer of this movie. The synopsis describes that a British government agent seeks answers in a case involving the disappearance of a colleague and the disruption of the American space program. The 22nd movie, Thunderball. This movie has been released in the year 1965. The duration of this movie is 2 hours 10 minutes. Sean Connery, Claudine Auger, Adolfo Celi are the starrer of this movie. The synopsis tells that Bond heads to Bahamas to recover the 2 nuclear warheads stolen by Spectre. The 23rd Hollywood movie is The Godfather Part 2. This movie has been released in the year 1974. The duration of this movie is 3 hours 22 minutes. Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Robert Duvall are the starrer of this movie. The synopsis describes that the early life and career of Vito Corleone in 1920s New York City is portrayed while his son Michael expands and tightens his grip on the family crime syndicate. The 24th Hollywood movie is The Godfather Part 3. This movie has been released in year 1990. The duration of this movie is 2 hours 42 minutes. Al Pacino, Diane Keaton, and Andy Garcia are the starrer of this movie. The synopsis describes that in the midst of trying to legitimize the business dealings in New York City and Italy in 1979, an old-age mafia don, Michael Corleone, seeks to atone for his sins while taking his nephew Vincent Massini under his wagon. 25th Hollywood movie is 12 Angry Men. This movie has been released in the year 1957. The duration of this movie is 1 hour 36 minutes. Henry Fonda, Lee Jacob, Martin Balsam are the starrer of this movie. The synopsis mentions that a jury holdout attempts to prevent a miscarriage of justice by forcing his colleagues to witness the evidence. The 26th Hollywood movie is Fight Club. This movie has been released in the year 1999. The duration of this movie is 2 hours 12 minutes. Brad Pitt, Edward Norton, Meatloaf are the starrer of this movie. The synopsis tells that insomniac office worker and devil may care soap maker form an underground fight club that evolves something. This is a famous Hollywood movie based on IQ after Albert Einstein. Any idea? The 27th Hollywood movie is The Forrest Gump. This movie has been released in the year 1994. The duration of this movie is 2 hours 22 minutes. Tom Hanks, Robin Wright, Gary Sinise are the star of this movie. The synopsis tells that the story describes the presidencies of Kennedy and Johnson, the events of Vietnam, Watergate, and other historical events unfold through the perspectives of an Alabama man whose IQ is 75, whose desire is to be reunited with his childhood memories. The next movie is a famous movie about cybers. Any idea? Okay, I will tell the next movie. The 20th Hollywood movie is Matrix. This movie has been released in the year 1999. The duration of this movie is 2 hours 16 minutes. Keanu Reeves, Lawrence Fishburne, Carrie-Anne Moss are the star of the movie. The synopsis tells that a stranger leads a computer hacker Neo to forbidding underworld. He discovers the shocking truth. The life he knows is the elaborate deception of an evil cyber intelligence. Next movie is a famous movie that people may know. The 29th Hollywood movie is Seven. This movie has been released in the year 1995. The duration of this movie is 2 hours 7 minutes. Starring Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman, Kevin Spacey. The synopsis tells that two detectives hunt a serial killer who uses the 7 deadly sins as his motives. The 30th Hollywood movie is Psycho. This movie has been released in the year 1960. The duration of this movie is 1 hour 49 minutes. Anthony Perkins, Janet Leigh, Vera Miles are the star of this movie. The synopsis tells that the secretary embezzles $40,000 from her employer's client, goes on the run, and checks into a remote motel run by a young man under the domination of his mother. The 31st Hollywood movie is Rosemary's Baby. This movie has been released in the year 1968. The duration of this movie is 2 hours 17 minutes. Mia Farrow, John Cassavetes, Ruth Gordon are the star of this movie. The synopsis describes that a young couple trying for a baby move into a fancy apartment surrounded by peculiar neighbors.